looking at May, June 22, paper 1. So first set of questions fall under vocabulary. So instructions say, each sentence in this section has one underlined word. Choose from the 4 suggested answers the word which is nearly opposite in meaning to the underlined word. So in our sentence on what's underlined, we need to find a word that's opposite in meaning to it. So you pause, read your questions, get your answers, and then we correct. All right, so number 1, it says the manager decided to inform the staff about all complaints received from customers. So if you're complaining about something, you have something negative to say, so you want the opposite of that, which will give us option D, which is compliment. So you compliment, you'd have something positive, something nice to say, so that's our answer. Number 2, we have there was an increase in airplane travel after that incident. So we have an increase. So if you have an increase, things go up, right? We have more. So you want the opposite of that, which will give us A, which is to decline. So something declines, it decreases. Number 3, constructive criticism is neither appreciated nor encouraged by some of our peers. So if our criticism is constructive, it means that it's helpful, it's positive. So we're looking for the opposite of that. So we'll have B, which is negative. Going up to number 4, he tried to think of a tactful way to tell her he disagreed with her view of the situation. So if he's trying to think of a tactful way, he's trying to think of a way that's considerate or like understanding to her. So you want the opposite of that there. So honest, tolerable, extraordinary, that wouldn't give us an opposite in meaning. Our best answer here will be C, which is impolite. Right? Instead of a considerate way, you find an impolite way to tell her. And number 5, they always displayed a lackadaisical approach to their studies, so no one was surprised at the results. So you have lackadaisical, someone who's lackadaisical, they're lazy or careless. So you want the opposite of that. So if we aren't lazy, we aren't careless, we will be option C, which is diligent, right? Someone who's hardworking. So that will be our answer. So next set of questions fall under error recognition. So you pause, read, get your answers, and then we'll correct. All right, so question 6. He advanced a step or 2 to meet his attacker, who became alarmed and retreated back. So which one of these errors do we see in this sentence here? Our answer will be option A. Right, the sentence is too-wordy, that is repetitive or contains redundancies. So the repetition we have here is at the end of the sentence where it says retreated back. Remember, retreated already means to go back. So by saying this word back here, we are being repetitive. All right. Number 7, we have it's not necessary for it to be done today. So answer for this one will be option C. The sentence is incorrect grammatically or faulty in diction. So you have a faulty in diction error here, which is this word it's, right? So it's here, this one meaning ITS, this means belonging to. But the word that we really want is IT apostrophe S, right? Because this one means it is, because that's the meaning that we have here in this sentence. It is not necessary for it to be done today. So we need that apostrophe there. So that's why it's a incorrect grammatically or faulty in diction error. Number 8, she had adequate time to prepare for the interview. So she had adequate time to prepare for the interview. There's nothing being repeated here. There's no cliche or misused metaphor, no incorrect grammar or faulty in diction. So our answer is D. Our sentence is acceptable as it stands. There's none of the errors in A to C there. Okay. Then we have number 9. The disciplinary methods had a positive effect on the student's behavior. So here we would have option C as our answer. We have a faulty in diction, an incorrect word being used, and that will be here with affect, right? Now the effect is like the impact or change. And what's impacting here in this sentence is the new disciplinary methods, right? The correct word that we needed here was not affect, but effect. Because that effect there is giving you that meaning of the result of it. So it had a positive result there, positive effect on the student's behavior. And last one for this, number 10, sitting alone in his room by himself, he repeated her name over and over again. This will give you option A. If there is repetition in this sentence. He is sitting alone in his room. So if he's sitting alone, obviously he's going to be by himself, right? So there's no need to have this again there because these two things are giving you that same meaning, that He's alone. He's by himself. Also, you can also look at sometimes repeated her name over and over again. Once he repeated her name, we know that he repeated it, like more than once there. So that's why you have A, the sentence is repetitive. Our next set of questions fall under equivalent sentences. They have to select an option as giving the same meaning as the original sentence. So I have the first four questions here. So you read it, get your answers, and then we'll correct. So number 11, so engrossed was he in his task that he did not hear his sister enter the room. So understand the meaning of your sentence first. He was so engaged or absorbed in what he was doing that he did not hear his sister enter the room. So you need an option that's going to give us that same meaning, which would be option D. He was so preoccupied, which is giving you the same meaning. He was engrossed with what he was doing, which is the same thing as in his task, that he was unaware of his sister's entry, which is the same thing as he did not hear his sister enter the room, right? Going down to number 12, it says, according to the witness, he did not see the accused man near the scene of the crime. So your answer here will be option B. So you have according to the witness, which is giving you the same thing as the witness testified, that the accused man was not seen, so he did not see the accused man, so far so good, near the place where the crime was committed, which is near the scene of the crime. So same meaning there, so B is our answer. Going up here to number 13, it says the bright colors of the bird distinguished it from the others flying across the pale sky. So you have this bird, the bright colors of it, it distinguished it from the others flying across the pale sky. That will give us option D. The bright colors against the pale sky made the bird stand out, which is the same thing as distinguished, among those flying by. Number 14, cigarettes have been linked to lung cancer and, strangely enough, so has bacon. Our equivalent sentence here would be option B. It is rather peculiar that bacon, so that peculiar there is giving you that strange meaning. So that's the strangely enough part, bacon, like cigarettes, right? So it's linked to cigarettes there, that's correct. Is connected with lung cancer, linked to lung cancer. So same meaning. So that's why 14, we have B, all right? So you're going to 15. You pause, read it, get your answer, and then we'll correct. So 15, I can't understand why you have done this since you tell me that Mark means a lot to you. So this here, our answer will be A. Since Mark means a lot to you, which is that same meaning there, Mark means a lot to you, the reason for your action, which is why you have done this, is puzzling to me. So you're puzzled, you're confused, you can't understand. So that's this meaning in front there. All right. So 15, our answer was A. All right, so our next group of items, we're looking for errors in terms of inappropriate grammar, idiom, or vocabulary. So you pause, get your answers, and then we correct. So number 16, she was not feeling well at the beginning of the journey, and sitting at the front of the car made her feel worse. So she was not feeling well, nothing is wrong there with well. We use well in terms of description of how we are feeling in terms of health. Sitting, nothing is wrong here. Good use of the verb, continuous tense, so it's matching. She was not feeling well at the beginning of the journey and sitting, right? And then made her feel worse, right? So we comparing in terms of the beginning of the journey to now. So this worse here is correct in terms of the form of the adjective. So this is good. So D is our answer. There's no error in this sentence. Going now to number 17. We have considering the chaos you would cause if you were to resign, I have no choice than to refuse your request. So we have vocabulary error here using an incorrect word. So it's not I have no choice than to refuse your request, but it's supposed to be I have no choice but to refuse your request, right? Going down, number 18, we have Tom, as well as the other persons who need help, has promised to give his services free of charge for any worthwhile cause. So our answer here will be A. We have a subject-verb agreement error. So we're just talking about Tom. Because we have the as well as, we're not looking at the persons coming after. So Tom is our subject. Our subject is singular. And we look at this verb here. This verb is plural. There's no S in it, right? So a singular subject needs a singular verb. So A was supposed to be needs. Right? Then we're looking at number 19. After embarrassing his colleague, his conscience bothered him, and he eventually apologized. So you have an error in terms of the word being used. We have a misspelled word here, right? So this here is conscience. So you have an error there by the SCEI. Conscience is supposed to be spelled. So remember, they always have like the word con and then the word science with it. So you have the SCIENCE. All right. And last one for these items, number 20. You have the better of the two athletes claim never to have used the dangerous drugs found in his possession. The error here will be option B. We have a sentence subject-verb agreement error. So remember, we're talking about the better of the two athletes. So you're talking about the better one. So that's one out of the two we're referring to. So that means our subject is singular because we're just talking about one of them. And what's the subject-verb agreement rule? Singular subject takes a singular verb. This verb is not singular, it's a plural verb. So this claim needed to be claims. All right, so our next grouping of items here, we have vocabulary. So for this one, we're looking at words that are nearest in meaning. So you pause, get your answer, and then we correct. Okay, so number 21, it was impossible to rectify the error made by the computer since inaccurate information had been fed it. So if you rectify something, you make it right, you correct it, which would be option A, which is to fix. So it was impossible to fix the error. Number 22, we have the flowers grow profusely in the garden. So profusely comes from the word like profusion, which means you have a lot and abundance, which will give you option C, which is plentifully. Okay. Number 23, the news story revealed the squalor of the old prison cells. So squalor, that has to do with something that's like extremely dirty, which will give you this meaning here, option D, which is filthiness. All right, we're going up to number 24. Our sentence says, during the rainstorm yesterday, the wind blew incessantly across the island. Say something is incessant, right? We're saying that it blew constantly. And last one, 25. For the first time in a decade, the company disclosed a deficit in its account. So if you have a deficit, you have like a deficiency, a shortage. So that will give you option D, which is a shortfall. So now we're in section 2 with our comprehension. So you have our poem here. So you pause to read and then we'll go to the questions. So these are the questions. You pause, get your answers, and then we correct. All right, so number 26, it says, the phrase her garden looks, which is in line 1, is an example of. So you're looking at literary devices. So you go to line 1, her garden looks in through my window. So our answer here will be option D, personification, giving human qualities to inanimate objects, right? So the garden is looking. A garden doesn't have any eyes, so that it's personification. So 27, which of the following phrases is meant to be taken literally? So something that's literal, meaning taken exactly as it is, right? Word for word. So you have A, hiding places for small girls. So line 4. So you're going here. Let's see what they're talking about. Coolers, they call them, but they are also hiding places for small girls play. So the coolers, they're using it as a hiding place, right? So that could be taken literally. So A is our answer. Let's just go to the others to cancel them out. Her garden travels politely, like 5 to 6. Right? So the garden stands neatly around her house, travels politely. So garden can travel, so that's not literal. Option C, feeding her frail consciousness, line 14. So feeding her frail consciousness with edited cleaner news. So we're not actually feeding her frail consciousness there, like giving her something to eat. So definitely not. And then watching the even shape of her days. Her days has no shape, so that's not literal. So that's why A is our answer. Number 28, her garden stands neatly around her house, which is in line 5. That tells us what? So you go to line 5, her garden stands neatly around her house, travels politely onto the veranda to sit in pots or hang leafly down from large earth-colored urns, right? So we have A, there were several well-kept potted plants on the stands around the house. Several tall trees stood along the side of the house. C, the garden which surrounded the house was well-kept. C will give us that answer, right? Her garden stands neatly around her house. So it's well kept. travels politely onto the veranda, sits in pots or hang leafly down. So this garden is well kept. All right. Number 29, we have the poet uses the words frail consciousness to show that Mama was unconscious most of the time, was not understanding as well as she used to, had fainted because of lack of food, or was thin and weak and could hardly walk. So line 40, going back to it, feeding her frail consciousness with edited Gleaner News. Say frail consciousness in terms of your consciousness, that's the ability to be aware. And if it's frail, it means that it's weak, right? So our answer there will be B. She was not understanding as well as she used to. So number 30, which of the following describes the woman's extraordinary thoughtfulness in relation to her mother? So you're looking at the extraordinary thoughtfulness, right? So with that there means that we're going to, she's doing a great acts of service there. So let's say we have lines 10 to 11. She lives with Mama, shepherding her full body. So let's go to the lines. She lives with Mama, shepherding her with her full body, right? So she's living with her mother and then she's shepherding her, carrying there her full body. So that's showing, you know, her extraordinary thoughtfulness, right? A is our answer. So 31, the poet uses the phrase borrowed children, line 17, to show. So let's see where it is in line 17. So up here, in her home, borrowed children touch her china birds with hands. So these children are borrowed, meaning it's not her own, right? So in terms of that there, our answer will be option C, that she had no children of her own. Number 32, lines 23 to 26, suggest that the woman, so let's see 23 to 26, right? So that's this stanza here. Sometimes she fills the space out with music, spreading out nostalgia through strings and flutes, old-fashioned love songs of blue moons and forever until. Right, so what does that suggest? You have here option D, which saying that she enjoyed listening to happy music, which tells of love. Definitely didn't get anything about love to play loud music, was a musician in an orchestra, or spread all the music, not literally spreading it there. It's just suggesting that she enjoyed listening to music. And then number 33, last one here, we have the word nostalgia, which is in line 24, tells us that the music. So line 24, we read the line, we read around it. Sometimes she fills the space out with music, spreading out nostalgia through strings and flutes, old-fashioned love songs of blue moons and forever until. So that here will give us an option 9, option D, brought back pleasant memories of long ago, because that's what nostalgia is, right? Thinking of things that happened in the past there. So D will be our answer. All right, so this is our next passage. So you pause to read and then we go to questions. So these are the questions. So you pause, get your answers, and then we correct. All right, so number 34. The mother's thrust of a chin is done in, so that's in line 4. So you go to see how it was used. There had always been a fierceness in her. It showed in that angry, challenging thrust of a chin when she issued an opinion, and a great one she had always been for issuing opinions, right? So that thrust of a chin is going to be done in defiance, right? Because that shows her boldness, that she was like open to resistance. So C is our answer. 35. The son cautioned his mother about telling people exactly what she thought because he was affronted by her arrogance, thought others would be offended, found her behavior aggressive, or was upset that she would not change. So let's see where he cautioned her, right? So we can start from about here to read. So it says, I tell people exactly what's on my mind. She had been fond of boasting. I tell them what I think, whether they like it or not. Often they had not liked it. She could be sarcastic to people in whom she detected evidence of the ignoramus or the fool. It's not always a good policy to tell people exactly what's on your mind. I used to caution her. So you see, that's where he cautioned her, right? And just continues, if they don't like it, that's too bad. Was a customary reply, because that's the way I am. So he cautioned his mother about telling people exactly what she thought because he, option B, thought others would be offended. You kind of get that hint a little bit here as well. Often they had not liked it. So he never liked, you know, when she gave her opinions there. All right. So he thought that others would be offended. Number 36. Why does the writer choose the expression a formidable woman, line 13, to describe the mother? So let's go and see where they give that description. So line 13, that's here. So let's read around it to see what's taking place. And so she was, a formidable woman, determined to speak her mind, determined to bend those who opposed her. In that time when I had known her best, my mother had hurled herself at life with chin thrust forward, eyes blazing, and an energy that made her seem always on the run. So a formidable woman, right? She's using this expression to describe the mother. This will give you option D. He emphasizes her strength, which he finds admirable. So even though it might offend people in terms of the opinions that she's giving, right? But still, it makes her a formidable woman where she's just determined to speak her mind, determined to bend those who oppose her. So this here, he's emphasizing her strength, which he finds admirable. All right. Number 37. What does in that time when I had known her best, line 14, say about the mother-son relationship? So you're looking at the mother-son relationship there based on what was said. So line 14, so that's here. So always read, around it. So you can start from by the determined to speak her mind, determined to bend those who oppose her in that time when I had known her best. So that's telling us, okay, there's a point in time in their relationship where he did know her really well there. So what that is telling us on their relationship is that option A, they had grown apart, right? So at first, in the beginning there, he had known her really well, but now based on her circumstance and what's happening to her, he doesn't know her as well now. So they had grown apart. All right. So number 38, what literary device is used in lines 14 to 15? My mother had hurled herself at life. So you go back to look at it. It says here, in that time when I had known her best, my mother had hurled herself at life with chin thrust forward, eyes blazing, and an energy that made her seem always on the run. So nothing is ironic about this. There's no repetition and no onomatopoeia. Our answer here is option B, which is imagery, right? Because you're getting that image of the mother hurling herself at life, meaning like she's just throwing herself there. So that's the image we are getting in our head. Number 39, the behaviors the mother finds contemptible include like the behaviors like she dislikes. So we have timidity, laziness, cowardice. So let's see where we get that information. So you see that in like a last three lines here. So you can start from reading. Life was combat and victory was not for the lazy. So we see talk about lazy there, right? So the second option there is in it. And then we have the timid. So we talked about timid, so that's there, right? So let's see if there's cowardice. So you have the slugabed, the drugstore cowboy, the mushmouth, afraid to tell people exactly what was on their mind. So this here, afraid to tell people exactly, right? That will fall under the cowardice. So these three are there that she finds contemptible. So D will be our answer. Number 40, the incident at Thanksgiving shows the mother's own attitude to be one of. So let's see where this incident of Thanksgiving is. That will give you here from line 19. One Thanksgiving, she burned herself badly when, running up from the cellar oven with the ceremonial turkey, she tripped on the stairs and tumbled back down, ending on the bottom of the debris of giblets, hot gravy, and battered turkey. Right? So this incident here shows the mother's own attitude to be one of. If you look before it as well, it says like she ran after squawking chickens, a knife in her hand, determined on the beheading that would put dinner on the pot. She ran when she made the bed. She ran when she set the table, right? So this here is showing her the attitude to be one of hastiness. She's always on the go, they're always in a hurry, and that's what hastiness is giving us. And last question for this passage, the final sentence of the extract implies that the mother has become lazy and sleepy, loss of physical strength, hurt her leg in the hospital, or died leaving the son to reminisce. So you're looking at the final sentence. So that will be this one here, right? But now her running was over. So remember when we looked here, so she ran here, she ran to do this, she ran there, right? She ran. But now her running was over. So answer here will be option B. She lost her physical strength, right? Before she could do all of things and be as hasty, but now her running was over. So she lost her physical strength. All right, so next passage, you pause to read and then you go to the questions. All right, so these are the questions for this passage. You pause, get your answers, and then we'll correct. All right, so number 42, the expression given the green light to arcades, which is in line 4, means that. So we go to line 4. This is where they're saying it. So let's start from like here. Interestingly, we may argue about casinos, but we have given the green light to arcades where people gamble day and night. So if you're given the green light, it's like, you're given permission to do something. So option C would be our answer. Arcades have been given permission to operate. That's what the given the green light means. All right. Number 43, the Bahamas, Antigua, Suriname, and St. Martin are mentioned so as to. So why did they mention these countries there? So we look to see where they mention it, and that'll be in this paragraph here. So let's read to see how it's linked. So it says here, those who favor them argue that casinos on land should be seen as another attraction that can be added to the country's tourism industry if prudent controls are imposed. For example, the Bahamas, Antigua, Suriname, and St. Martin are few places where casino gambling is allowed, and tourism authorities in those places have said that casino gambling has proven to be a stimulus to their tourism sector, right? So why they mentioned this 43, our answer here will be D. Prove that gambling is a stimulus to tourism, right? Which we saw there. Gambling has proven to be a stimulus. So that's why they mentioned it. All right, so that was like clearly in the passage there. So good question. So 44, an expression the writer uses to introduce an opposing view in paragraph 5 is. So you're looking at paragraph 5, that'll be this paragraph here. Right, we're looking for an expression that the writer uses to introduce an opposing view. So opposing, opposite there. So you see options, you have opponents and upsurge of, on the other hand, or with everything else. But just looking at this, you should be able to select your option, which is option C, on the other hand, which we see here. Opponents, on the other hand, insist that casinos lead to gambling addiction. So on the other hand there, based on the information we started the passage with, right, giving us like the positive things about casinos and arcades and the gambling there, now we're going into like the negative. So we have insist that casinos lead to gambling. So that's on the other hand. So we're giving now an opposing view. Compared to the positive things, we're going now to the negative. So number 45, which argument below is not used in support of casino gambling? So you're looking for an argument that is not used in support. So you have A, degrades the values of society. B, it can be beneficial if controlled wisely. C, it can be used as another tourist attraction. D, it is part of everyday life of the Caribbean individual. So you can see options B, C, and D will definitely support because it can be beneficial. It could be used as a tourist attraction and as part of everyday life of the Caribbean individual. So these things represent support of casino gambling, but we need one that is not used, and that would definitely be option A, as it says it degrades the values of society. So this one here is definitely not in support. And last one, number 46, we have, to what does that is the last thing that we may need right now, lines 18 to 19, refer. So what does this, that is the last thing that we need right now, refer to? So we go to 18 to 19, that will be here. So let's read the entire paragraph to see what's happening. Opponents, on the other hand, insist that casinos lead to gambling addiction, crime, and worse, at the basement of society. With everything else that is happening in our islands, an upsurge of gangs, drugs, and violent behavior among our youth, that is the last thing we need right now. So that's where the phrase coming in, right? However, the case of the cruise ships keeping casinos open while docked on the shore may cause little, if any, harm. So we could figure out from up to here to find our answer, all right? So they're asking us, to what does that is the last thing that we may need right now refer? So if you look at what it's saying, right? Opponents, on the other hand, insist that casinos lead to gambling addiction, crime, and worse, at the basement of society. With everything else that is happening in our islands, so this here will be the with everything else, right? The upsurge of gangs, drugs, etc. With everything else that is happening in our islands, that is the last thing we need right now. So the thing that is the last thing we need right now is the first thing they mention, right? So it will lead to gambling addiction, crime, and worse, at the basement of society. So that there will give us option A as our answer. Gambling addiction, crime, and worse are the basement of society. Because this one here is just referring to with everything else, right? And then we came and we say that is the last thing that we need. So we're saying like with everything else, that's the last thing we need. With everything else, these gambling addiction and crime and worse at the basement of society, that's the last thing we need. So this here is what it's referring to. All right. So this is our next passage with the question. Say pause to read, go through the questions, get your answers, and then we correct. Okay, so number 47, the writer uses the word brain in line 1 is meant to. The writer's use of the word brain in line 1 is meant to. So let's see where he used it, or she. This is an open request to try to find who is the brain behind traffic management, right? So we see here, we have brain. So you see it's like in quotations as well. So it's an open request to find who's the brain behind traffic management. So it's kind of being sarcastic, right? Because then he goes like this, anybody know? I've tried traffic branch, not them. Highways, not them, right? So this here will give us option B as our answer, right? He's making fun of the poor decisions. So good. Number 48, the writer repeats not them in paragraph 1. When the writer repeats not them in paragraph 1, he implies that. So let's see when he repeats it. Does anybody know? I've tried traffic branch, not them. Highways, not them. Planning and development, not them. In fact, nobody wants to take responsibility for certain decisions and the mess that results, right? So that there will give us option B as our answer. No one wants to accept responsibility for the traffic situation. Right, so as he repeats not them, that's what he implies. So 49, we have Stoke Street, Celestial Road, and Delano Street can best be considered as prohibited streets for all drivers, streets that attract a lot of attention, examples to support the writer's case, or assigned parking places for diplomats. All right, so let's see how they were used. So you have Stoke Street, line 7. So we go to line 7. So it says, we start from this sentence here. In fact, many people were charged for going the wrong way up a one-way street. Then suddenly it's back to a two-way and traffic for so. Same is true of Stoke Street. So they use the Stoke Street to kind of give an example of that situation they were talking about. So Celestial Road, we have line 9, but the best is Celestial Road in St. John, which is Wrecker Heaven. Somebody made this road, which apart from Broadway is the widest street in Palo. So again, it's kind of is used as an example, right? And Delano Street, line 17, we have that here. Then again, the two narrow streets in Palo allowing parking, try Delano Street off Abbey Lane, right? So again, using it as an example, so C is your answer. It's best considered as examples to support the writer's case. So number 50, the writer's tone can best be described as puzzled, resigned, sarcastic, complimentary. We know it's definitely not complimentary, doesn't have anything positive to say, right? He's complaining and he's doing that in a sarcastic way. The way he's calling them like, who is the brain behind this traffic? Traffic branch, not them. Highways, not them. Have a lot of sarcastic there in this, sarcasm in this passage. So 51, the last sentence of the letter is similar to paragraph 5 because both of them. So look at the last sentence and paragraph 5 to see what's similar. So let's look at the last sentence. That'll be this here. Who is this brain? No doubt, a small man with a big, big car who has no shame. And then paragraph 5, which would be this one here. Oh, there's an exception. If you have a Canadian High Commission sticker, you can park and the wrecker will not touch your diplomatic car. Maybe we could all become diplomats, right? So it's similar because both of them, option B, they express disgust, right? So it's expressing and showing how he's like disgusted at the unfair treatment or system, right? So 52, the author of the passage is most likely A. So who's the person who most likely, write this passage based on the information you're getting from them? It will be option A, a motorist, right? Because again, the sense there, motorist is like a driver of a car, and what he's talking about with traffic, what he's complaining about with traffic management, you can see that, okay, he'll be a motorist. So 53, again, the small man suffers. Line 14 implies that the small man is often. So look at line 14 where they said that That will be here, right? So there are 4 major office buildings on this road, all of which provide underground parking for staff. So some, usually the lower paid, have to park elsewhere, and these are the persons whose cars the wrecker is taking away all day, every day. Again, the small man suffers, right? So it implies that the small man is often B, which is disadvantaged, right? And last one for this passage, 54, the letter was most likely published in A. So our best option here would be A, which is newspaper, right? Definitely won't be in a press release, a tourist brochure, or school magazine. So A is our answer. It was published in a newspaper. All right, so for last comprehension, we have an advertisement. So you pause, read the advertisement carefully, and look at your questions, get your answers, and then we correct. So number 55, what does the airline promise if a person joins the miles program, right? So you see it says, join our Caribbean miles program. You earn Caribbean airline miles every flight, all right? So D will be our answer, rewards for every flight. So then we have 56, how many bonus miles does a silver tier member receive? So we go here to see, okay, where they talk about silver tier members, unique members, credentials, a 3,000 miles bonus, right? So we have A, 3,000 miles, all right? 57, to which of the following destinations can a person fly using 25,500 airline miles? So let's see, we have miles needed, 25,500, one-way business class. So that's the between the Caribbean / South America and North America, right? So that'll be option D here, which is North America. So 58, according to the advertisement, what should a prospective member do if more detailed information is needed about the benefits of the program? So if you want more information, what should you do, right? So we have this here where you could visit us at CaribbeanAirlines.com or call us, or you could email, right? So based on the options we have here, we will have option C as our answer. You visit the airline's webpage, all right? On 59, we have, which technique does the advertisement use to appeal to travelers to join the miles program? So which technique does the advertisement use to appeal? So our answer here will be A, right? Basically, our factual information. These are the things that you need to become a member and the kind of benefits that you will get there, right? So definitely not opinions, giving us exact information, not necessarily persuasive language, and definitely not personal experience. So A is our answer. And last question, number 60. The main purpose of the advertisement is to encourage persons to. So notice you have the word main there in capital letters, right? So they might be doing all of encouraging these things here, but what's the main purpose of the advertisement, right? So the main purpose here will be option D, which is to become members of the MAS program. So yes, they might want you to fly more often, but they want you to fly as a member, right? So the main purpose there is for you to become members of the MILES program. And that's the end of this past paper.